So what's your opinion of the College Football Playoff Committee's latest and greatest, Bruce?
It's interesting. They didn't drop Indiana that far. So there's like kind of a buffer with Indiana and this cluster of SEC teams that are on the outside of it. Alabama being among them, Ole Miss being among them. Because even where those teams stand, there would be a Big 12 team that would leapfrog them by the way the playoff criteria is set up. So, I think right now what'll be interesting to see is where's the big upset coming? Is it going to be USC knocking off Notre Dame? Is it going to be Vandy getting Tennessee? You feel like somewhere along the way something is going to happen that's going to stir things up. The Big 12 is like wildly all over the place in terms of what the championship game is going to look like. But I just think there'll be some curveball that's coming. We'll find out what it is this weekend.
So do you think it will wind up 4 Big Ten teams in? Because, we all know Ohio State and Oregon. Well, I mean, it's the likelihood of all
those
4 teams
are
being
no-brainers,
in, right?
Yeah.
I think you think that happens?
The only way it doesn't, I think, is if Purdue somehow knocks off Indiana. Purdue has had an awful season, unless there's a huge hangover effect for IU. I just don't see it because the committee would have to really undo a lot of the stuff that it said this weekend. You're sitting there. Auburn is a 500 team at best. It's not like they're a top 25 team. Alabama beating them is not going to give them some big vault, especially, as I said, you have Big 12 teams that are going to factor in at least one Big 12 team that's going to factor in that's behind those clustered SEC teams that are sitting there hoping for a lot of chaos. And like I said, a lot of that chaos would have to be Purdue pulling a massive upset of Indiana. It would have to be, it could be Syracuse knocking off Miami. I know that would make Brockman happy. It would certainly have to be USC and Notre Dame. There has to be like a combination of those things that would have to happen, I think, for Alabama or Ole Miss to find their way into the playoff.
What's your opinion of Boise State getting one of those coveted 4 bye week spots, Bruce?
I think part of it is because there's just not a lot of respect from the committee has showed for the Big 12. And I think that when you have 2 lost Big 12 teams, and again, their schedule is harder than what, from a week in, week out standpoint than what Boise played. But Boise lost only by 3 at Oregon. That's not much worse than that's basically how it looked for Ohio State. So I think Boise, they're going to sit there if they do end up beating UNLV twice or end up coming out of the Mountain West with a 1 loss. And the 1 loss is a close loss against the number 1 team in the country, who's the only undefeated team in the country. I think that's a pretty strong argument as opposed to you have, some kind of 2-loss Big 12 champ that's not going to have any great wins. I mean, right now, probably one of the better wins in the league is BYU's win at SMU earlier in the season. But I don't think it's not like, it's not like they beat Georgia, or it's not like they beat Oregon, or it's not like they beat Ohio State. So I just think that for the Big 12, yes, they'll probably get a push from playing in a more competitive conference title game, depending on whatever that matchup's going to be. But I just don't know if it's going to be enough right now, assuming, Boise State was not impressive last week against a really bad Wyoming team. If they're impressive in the Mountain West title game next Friday night, I think that would be enough. It could be enough to give them that first round bye.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.